William Morrow and HarperAudio present Mrs. Lincoln's Sisters, a novel by Jennifer Chiaverini, performed by Cassandra Campbell. One. May 1875. Elizabeth. A whimsical breeze rustled the paper beneath Elizabeth's pen as she wrote in the garden, but she held the sheet firmly against the table with her left hand, and it was not carried aloft. She lifted her pen and waited for the gust to subside, rather than risk smearing the ink. And in that momentary pause, a light shower of blossoms from the plum tree fell upon her, the table, and the head of her 16-year-old grandson Louis, sprawled in a chaise lounge nearby, so thoroughly engrossed in Jules Verne's Around the World in 80 Days that he did not notice the petals newly adorning his light brown hair. She smiled, tempted to rise and brush the blossoms softly to the ground with her fingertips. But he looked so charming that she decided to leave them be. It was to Louis's mother she was writing, Julia, her eldest child and only daughter. Julia's husband, Edward Louis Baker Sr., had been appointed United States Consul to Argentina the previous year, and when the couple moved to Buenos Aires, Louis came to stay with his grandparents. Ninian and Elizabeth's gracious home on Aristocracy Hill in Springfield had more than enough room for one much-adored grandson, and they were delighted to take him while he finished his education, or indeed, for as long as he wished. The breeze subsided, leaving the delicate fragrance of hyacinth and narcissus in its wake. But before Elizabeth could again put pen to paper, the dull, chronic ache in her abdomen suddenly sharpened. She must have gasped aloud, for Louis glanced up from his book. "Are you all right?" he asked, brow furrowing. She managed to smile. "Perfectly fine, dear. I merely—" She inhaled deeply, ignoring the stab of pain, and forced a sigh of contentment. Enjoying the lovely spring air. He peered at her inquisitively, unconvinced. "Are you sure? Would you like me to have Mrs. Henderson or Carrie fix you a cup of tea?" "I have one," she replied, gesturing to the cup on the table. A pale lavender petal floated on the surface of the amber liquid, which was not proper tea but a tincture of ginger, willow bark, and raspberry leaf, prepared for her by an elderly woman of color respected throughout the city for her knowledge of herb lore. No one but Elizabeth and her loyal housekeeper knew that she partook of the remedy almost every day, sometimes twice, morning and night. Although the brew temporarily relieved her symptoms and evidently did her no harm, she knew that Ninian and her sister Frances would chide her for wasting money on flavored water when her doctor had assured her that the aches and pains were all in her head. At the time, knowing that a sharp rebuke would merely confirm for the doctor the accuracy of his diagnosis, Elizabeth had managed, with great effort, to nod politely and thank him. Although she had agreed to avoid strenuous activity, she had declined the laudanum he recommended. Only later, when she and Frances were alone, had she said what she truly thought. "And the droplets of blood on my undergarments, are they all in my head, too?" she had demanded indignantly, albeit in an undertone, lest anyone overhear and be shocked by her impolite language. Frances herself had looked somewhat shocked, but her late husband had been a doctor as well as a storekeeper, and she had probably heard far worse. She had assured Elizabeth that her pains and aches and blood were merely symptoms of the change of life, something all women must endure, and in time they would subside. Elizabeth hoped her sister was right, but feared she was not.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?